Well, welcome to the not preview, the review of two games last week, both Notre Dame and Philadelphia's. I'm going to try to drop the link from Streamyard. It probably won't work. I'm checking chat just to make sure if it worked or not, because it's a nightmare. But while I'm checking that, I may as well just mess around for a second, fix my mic, and make sure it's all good, because I know I can be heard. Nope, it did not drop. So I will put that in the description. So there's always some technical mishaps when we record. Somehow. There we go. It's in the description for anyone who wants to jump in. Feel free. I got nothing better to do because it's been a long 2 days. The podcast would have been out Monday, but things have just been a living nightmare, for better or for worse. Mostly for worse. And just wanted to kind of wrap up and talk about both those games and just chill. But anyways, I guess we'll get into it with the Eagles game. And so first impressions of the game were the defense looked decent in the first quarter, but changed it a lot up, came out in the second quarter, looked very good. There was a few penalties in the first quarter and the first half in general from a lot of guys that kind of annoyed, I think, any Eagles fan watching, and some in the second half from the O-line. But other than that, the team looked good on defense. On offense, besides the O-line penalties throughout the game, the team looked solid. And they did stuff that you wouldn't normally see under Jim Schwartz, like run a screen that's not to a guy who, like an Alshon Jeffrey, who doesn't work well with with screens. I can't even speak today. But the other thing is they also ran the ball consistently throughout the game. Doug Peterson never did that. So I'm happy to see it now. And the funny thing is going into the next couple of weeks, you're probably going to see a lot more different schemes from Jonathan Gannon. You're probably going to see it differ more from that 4-3 or I think we got a little bit of 4-2-5. I didn't see a lot because you don't necessarily have a Jacoby Stevens to play that role anymore of the safety in the box. I didn't see many safety in the box plays. I could be wrong. I wasn't paying my fullest attention because I was over in Lindy's stream, but I was very back and forth during that. But you will see more of that. It did look a lot more disguised. I liked it. You're not going to see corners play 10 yards off every single play and you get terrorized by a West Coast offense. The offense looked like a West Coast offense, and all around it looked good. Atlanta didn't look great. Now, say what you want, but this was kind of our version of a tune-up game. It got like all the jitters out of the way, and next week's the week. Next week's proving grounds against the 49ers. And as much as I hate to say it, that's going to be tough, but yeah, I think it's going to be tough from a defensive perspective. From an offensive perspective, I have a little bit more confidence because they've got some weapons on offense, whether that be Kittle, whoever. What up, Coach Dante? How you doing? I know you had a stream earlier. I had to jump in for a little while and say what's up, but how are you doing? How's your day been going? How is the full stream? But that game, I feel a lot better about that game right now. I really do. With how last week went, I feel a lot better about the game. I feel a lot better about our offense. And realistically, the only thing I'm worried about is covering up all the weapons on San Fran. Whether that's Ayuk, whether that's Raheem Mostert's down, but I still think they've got I don't know who's in their backfield off the top of my head. I'm trying to remember, but I know they've got one or two guys back there that can do a little bit of damage, and then you've got George Kittle at tight end, and there's another receiver I'm missing. But all in all, that's a good offense, and I think you got to worry about it. You also have an experienced quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo, and you're going to see a little bit of Trey Lance sprinkled in, which I can't argue with that. But hey, the Atlanta game, I'm just happy that some people showed out. Quez didn't do very much. Smith had a good game. Miles had a good game. Hurts had a good game. Ridgeway, if it wasn't for the penalty on the fumble, would have had a great game. He did have some penalty problems in the first half, but cleaned it up. And this team's been giving off vibes of like we haven't had in a while. We haven't seen stuff like the whole D line did the karate kick thing. We haven't seen stuff like that, or like the handshake between Sirianni and Hurts that there was a connection to his son. I don't have it in front of me. Something like his son made it up for them or something like that. But it's stuff like that it's like it takes me back to 2017. I'm not saying we're going to be that 2017 built perfectly. And that was when Ronald Darby being a fish wasn't nearly as much of a problem. But it gives off the vibes of just collective atmosphere. And I like it. But anyways, this is going to be a weird week going from Atlanta to the Niners because there's still so much worry there. There's still so much worry. But anyways, I think it's time for me to jump over to Notre Dame Toledo because I got a lot of opinions on this game. And I might scare away all my viewers. I probably will scare away all my viewers. So it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest just because I have this effect in streams apparently with my streams where I talk about Notre Dame and the chat just quiets and the viewers just disappear. But it is what it is. And this game, I didn't get to watch it. It was on Peacock. Now, I get it. You got to get your streaming deal in while you can because the streaming stuff's going to be important in the future. Really, it will be. But still, even though I wasn't able to watch it, I was able to see some clips on Twitter and a lot of other stuff and hear a lot of things. From what I'm hearing, it was horrible. Now we're down 2 linebackers. We're moving Xavier Watts to linebacker. Jack Kaiser is getting cross-trained between, Will and, not Viper. Those two positions, the one that's not Viper. I'm not familiar with Marcus Freeman's terms off the top of my head for linebackers yet. It's going to bother me now, but I do know that Watts is moving over. I don't necessarily like moving him over because he's under 6 foot and around 190 or just barely 6 foot 190. Hey, what up, Coach Dante? Welcome to the stream.
What up, Jordy, man? You know, I had to catch you, man. I rarely catch yours often. You rarely go, but I have to catch you. But like I say, man, your points about the Atlanta game. I thought the coaching staff done a great job of preparing the guys, but this coming week, coming Sunday, it's gonna be different, man. It's gonna be a different team, a different beast. We gotta try to protect Jalen Hurts even more better. I thought this offensive line did a pretty good job blocking the Atlanta Falcons. Granted that their defense is not even good, but I just want to see us take a shot at those cornerbacks. They're hurt all over the place at cornerback. We need to take a shot, and I want to see Quez Watkins get more involved in the offense because the first thing the Niners are going to come out and try to do establish the run game. They did had a great rushing attack last week against Detroit, so I want this run defense to get better. It was atrocious in the first half, and the linebackers got to come up and hit somebody much more.
Yeah, and I think this game's definitely going to be important for incorporating all those receivers in our offense because you didn't see a lot of Quez. You didn't see a lot of J.J. Arthur-Whiteside. You didn't see much of those two. Even Rager, to an extent, you didn't see much of.
Yeah.
And this week you're going to have to incorporate everybody because the Niners are a good team. I'm more scared of them offensively than defensively, but they're still a good team.
Yeah, yeah, that's still a good team, man. Like the Niners was hurt last year, so that's the reason why you probably wasn't seeing them in the playoff picture. They was still tough. They still was able to beat some teams, stick around with some teams when they was hurt, like that game against the Los Angeles Rams. They was hurt, but they still went in there and beat them. So they still can be a tough, capable team when healthy. And this is going to be a big test for the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts as well and his coaching style because I believe this game is going to be close. I got the Eagles winning 24-17 in this game, but I want to see Nick Sirianni tested. I want to see him. I want to see what he's going to do when the pressure is on. How his coaching is going to go down. How his play calling going to go down when the game is close. That's what I want to see. I want to see him see can he handle adversity. I seen Jalen Hurts do it. I seen him do it, but I want to see does coaching staff handle adversity, how the play calling, how the defensive scheme's gonna match up when the game is closed down the stretch.
Yeah, and the thing about the next couple weeks is you got to start expanding that playbook because they look
Yeah.
mostly basic on both sides of the ball. You got to expand what you're doing. And Sirianni, he did very good for a week one for a new coach. Same
Hmm.
thing with Gannon. But this is going to be a test for both of them, and
Yeah.
hopefully they can both step up.
Yeah. I mean, Atlanta, I say in a close game, you get to see what all these guys about. You get to just see. We all sensing, we all agreeing this may be a close game, might turn out to be. But I want to see what all these guys can do under pressure when the game is on the line. When the game is on the line, when it's a 17-17 ball game, when it's a 20-20 ball game, and we in 2 minutes or 5 minutes, the last 5 minutes down the stretch. I want to see what this coaching staff, what kind of play calling is going to happen, what kind of adjustments they're going to make on the defensive side of the ball and the offensive side of the ball. I want to see who's gonna be the dynamic playmaker that Jalen Hurts have. Who's gonna step up out of Devontae Smith, uh, Rager, and Quez Watkins or Miles Sanders. I just want to see who's gonna step up and make a play for this defense when this game going down the stretch or when we need a play. So this week should test all of that pretty much or any type of close game because like I say, we probably was to lose this game if we was to lose, don't get up out of here with this win. It probably could have turned out to be a bad start. And I said this was a much needed win that the Eagles needed to have, I feel, and they got the dub.
Yeah, and this week's definitely going to be big for the coaching staff because it's going to throw them into the fire, and if they
Mhm.
make mistakes, they learn the hard way. Nick Sirianni did that last
Mhm.
week against the Falcons with going for it on those fourth downs. He was very aggressive coming out of the gates when he didn't need to be, and he's going to learn from that, and that's going to stick in his mind in the future because he learned the hard way. And that I think that's a good way to learn in a sense
Yep.
for a lot of these guys is learning it the hard way because then you're gonna try not to do it again.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, man. It's a big test for him, man. I say you want to see what he's actually like when the game is close. We want to see the adjustments he's gonna make when the game is close because I say that's what you're gonna be criticized on when the game is close. You're gonna be when you're losing the game, when you lose a game or by a field goal. People are gonna look on film and look at this. He should have done this. Going forward, knowing when to go for it, knowing when not to go for it, knowing when to kick the field goal, knowing when not to kick the field goal, or knowing for in key situations. I want to see how he handled things in key situations and stuff, and put us in a great and putting us in great positions. And you know this week will be definitely the test because after this game, you just got a gauntlet coming up, man. I think you got Kansas City, I believe. I mean you got the Cowboys. You got the Cowboys after this game. Then you jump ship, you got Kansas City, I believe. And then you got Tampa Bay on a short weekend. You got Tampa Bay on a short weekend, North Carolina. But like I said, this is a tough test, man. And it doesn't get any easier, win or lose. It doesn't get any easier. More you lose, the more tougher your schedule is gonna get. The more you win, the more easier your schedule is gonna get. So this is gonna be another huge game. This could put the Eagles right there in contention if they was to come out and beat a respectable San Francisco 49ers team.
Yeah. And what up, BLSG? Welcome to the
What
stream.
up, Bill?
How you doing? But yeah, this is going to be a test, and I think we all want to see what Sirianni can do in those 2-minute drills
Yep.
and in those situations where there's no room for error and it's do or
Mhm.
die. And I think he can do it. I think Hurts can do it. I think they all can do it. It's
Yep.
just a matter of if they do it.
Yep. 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 I mean, like I say, I mean, these situations that like we had to clean up on. We had a lot of penalties last weekend. You can't have them against a team like the San Francisco 49ers. We had we played terrible against the run, but that was due to most of the linebackers really not coming up and hitting anything. But I mean, if you're a defensive lineman, you got to be able to get out blocks and get to the football. And then you start seeing in the second half or in the second quarter, in the middle of the second quarter, this team starting to get better and making the adjustments. But this offensive line did pretty well. I thought the punter, I thought he did really pretty well and pinning them deep all the whole time. And Matt Ryan was nothing but a pocket sitter. And this defensive line got to him, and to make him uncomfortable, that made it seem like everybody saying Matt Ryan is a bum. He's not a bum. He's a good quarterback now. It just that Nick Sirianni had these guys coming out ready to play, and we're definitely gonna need that Sunday against San Francisco 49ers because we not gonna forget that when healthy, they're a championship contender Super Bowl team when they're healthy. Jimmy got Garoppolo. He can win ball games. He's proven that he can win. And they're gonna come out. They're gonna try to establish the run. They got some good weapons over there in Samuel and Curtis Samuel and Debo Saunders, George Kittle, Kyle Juszczyk as well. Trey Sermon come. Brandon Ayuk is gonna play, get some PT. So these corners and these linebackers and these safeties, they got a lot of work they cutting in for. They got a lot of work to cut in for. So again, this is gonna be a tough week. This is gonna definitely put this defense to a test.
Yeah, and there's good news because Rodney McLeod is practicing at limited right now,
Mm-hmm.
which gives me hope for a potential return this week. I know he was very annoyed that he couldn't come in last week because he is a leader of this defense. He
Mm-hmm.
wants to be a leader and he wants to be up there in the game with his guys. So I
Yep.
know if he comes back this week, he's going to have a fire and he's going to be leading that secondary.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Like I say, I believe in this team. I believe what they can do. When the Dallas Cowboys, they get weaker right now. When D Law is out, I believe 6 to 8 weeks. I believe he's out with a toe injury, toe injury. So, I mean, hey, I mean this is the Philadelphia Eagles' chance, man. With Dallas getting weaker, you don't wish no injuries on nobody. You want their best players to play when you play them, but injuries happen every day in football, and you got a feeling if Dallas keep losing games or lose this game this week, they're gonna Demarcus Lawrence is out, so they the most dysfunctional organization, franchise, fan base because they always come up with the great excuses. They always putting Philadelphia name in their mouth, and we're gonna just keep proving them wrong, and we're gonna just keep proving it by coming out there on the field and playing. And this win this week will shut everybody up. Should be able to shut out everybody up, and we can put points on the board and play the same defense that we played against Atlanta, which is gonna be tough. Again, even San Francisco 49ers said it's gonna be tough. This Eagles team is good. This 49ers team is good. So that it's gonna be a grit grind football game. It's just gonna come down to matter who wants it more. Can Nick Sirianni outcoach Mike Shanahan? Can he outcoach him? And that's what it's gonna come down to.
Yeah, and a win this week, I mean, the win last week against the Falcons really got a lot of people to start to notice, well,
Yeah.
maybe there's something there, and that's something we've been saying for a while. If we can get the win this week, a lot of the bigger personalities are going to go, well, we were wrong, because
Mhm.
a lot of them put us in the bottom category of the league, and that's when it
Mhm.
comes to a team with a lot of young guys and a lot of potential and the right mix of young and veteran, you can never count them out. I mean, that was Buffalo for a time.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, a win here shows everybody that this is the real deal, and we'd have to walk into Dallas, the only undefeated team in the division.
Oh yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you on that. I say, I mean, Notre Dame did look good this weekend. A couple of I mean, against Florida State, my Texans had a horrible game against Arkansas, and they just benched Hudson Card for Thompson. That was a atrocious football game that the Texas Longhorn played. They couldn't stop the run. They that defense is just god awful. But that's what you get when you're playing Big 12 football. I mean, that was just an atrocious game by who is that that head coach for the Sarkisian. Yeah, Sarkisian. That was an atrocious game we played against Arkansas.
Yeah, I don't think anybody expected Florida State to lose that game
Yeah,
because Arkansas is not a great team. I mean,
yeah.
they've had some runs in the recent memory, but they're not that great. And I was actually saying Texas should win because as much as I'm not a big Texas guy, I'm still higher on them than I am Michigan or
Yeah.
Florida State.
Hmm.
And by all means, they should have won that game. But
Yeah, they should definitely. Oh my God, they definitely should have won that game. What you think about your Notre Dame Irish, man? What you like so far about this team and what you don't like? What you guys need to improve on?
I did like the quarterback play from the freshman that got put in for one drive. But this team was all over the place last week against Toledo. I
Hmm.
mean, we're missing our Rover and our Will linebacker. Both are out for the season. And then we had our freshman left tackle go down for 6 to 8 weeks. And I wish we didn't have the injuries this year, but I'm up. I've been very back and forth with Cohen
Hmm.
because he's a transfer from Wisconsin, so he wasn't going to be mobile in the first place. Although he will move forward and go down, so he's not going to take a 7 to 8 yard loss like Book would if he
Hmm.
got in real trouble. But this team worries me with Book at the helm because he's or Cohen at the helm because he's getting more. He's got to get more comfortable. But I'd rather put the freshman in who's a more mobile guy, Tyler Buckner, and
Hmm.
just say, "Screw it. This is your year. Have fun."
Yeah. I mean, so who did y'all play? Y'all play Toledo.
Yeah.
Did y'all blew them out? Did y'all blew them out? Huh?
No, it was close.
Oh, for real?
It came down to a fight. It came down to the fourth quarter. It came down to the wire.
Toledo was good. Was they straight? Was they a pretty decent team?
They're not great. That's what worries me. They're not great.
Man, boy. Y'all in the ACC conference, right?
No, we have a contract with the ACC for 6 games a year, but we're not part of
Mm-hmm.
the ACC. We are an independent, but we have very close allegiances or a very close connection with them because a lot of our other sports are in the ACC.
So y'all still play people like Clemson, North Carolina. Y'all still
Yeah,
play those type of teams.
yeah, we play those teams once every couple of years. Like every once in a while, we'll see a Syracuse or a Duke or a North Carolina. Like we got North Carolina this year, and they worry me. But
He said he said they worry him a lot. What worries you about North Carolina? What worries you about them?
they're having a down year this year. But it's just our defense has to show up, and I don't know if it's there right now.
Mm-hmm.
I have some belief in Marcus Freeman, the former defensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bearcats, and he's a great recruiter. My problem is I think he's got to get used to being in Notre Dame, and
Yeah.
that's going to take a while, and I don't like it.
I mean, again, man. Hey, man. I'm just so excited. The Eagles. No, my Texans got a dub. Trevor Lawrence did look like a rookie out there, but Urban Meyer was clueless. If you seen the look on Urban Meyer's face, how clueless he looked. But I mean, that Jaguars team, they don't look good at all. The Chenault dropped two passes. They had three drops. They had two and outs, three and outs. They had six. They had six penalties all in the first half, and Trevor Lawrence looked like he got some work to do. He looked like he had a little bit of nerves. Urban Meyer just was in another planet. He was just lost. He didn't make any adjustments, but this defense by Lovie Smith gave mixing up some coverages, sometimes confusing Trevor Lawrence. Vernon Hargraves comes out of nowhere, catches an interception. Trevor Lawrence throws a horrible pick to Christian Kirksey and Justin Reed. I mean, do you still think Trevor Lawrence can be something in this league, or you got to wait till this year?
I still think he can be something in this league. I give him a year
Mm-hmm.
because he just lost his right hand man in ETN to a list Frank, and that's I don't know if he'll be the same after that. I don't think he will. We
Mm-hmm.
never know with NFL injuries because the technology is changing year to year so much that injuries that were a career ender 15 years ago today is like nothing.
Yeah.
So not only that, they're rebuilding. They've got some weapons, but ultimately they're not great. And Urban
Mm-hmm.
Meyer, I'm actually telling people I'll take whatever bet that he goes to USC's coaching job after the season
Nah.
because he has no idea what he's doing.
Nah. So you think he actually gonna go back to college next year if this season turns out to be a terrible season? You think he will actually go back to college?
Yeah, because I guarantee you, his first quarter on that sideline was like, this was a mistake. I need to go back.
And he looked at clueless, man. He looked at no idea. He looked at just clueless. He called two timeouts in a minute within a minute of the ball game, and one of those timeouts saved Trevor Lawrence from getting knocked out of the game by Desmond King. But he looked like right now he doesn't have any type of clue any type of adjustments. Look like this team is going to be a long season. It doesn't get any easier for Jacksonville because they got a good defense of the Denver Broncos team coming up this week. So it's not going to get any easier for Trevor Lawrence and the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, and all in all, Trevor, he was a great quarterback in Clemson. I'll give him that as much as I hate to do it.
Mhm.
But he's had to run so much behind that line. He's had to scramble for his life, and it's going to get him killed.
Mhm.
That's what happened to Andrew Luck. That's what happened to so many guys that he's just gonna be another name on that list at the end of the day if they don't get him help now. Same with
Yeah.
Joe Burrow. So
I mean, hey man, I definitely agree with you on that. But they put it on Minnesota this weekend. They just put it on Minnesota. Him and Jamar Chase. Um, Do you feel confident going against San Francisco? Do you feel confident in this Eagles team that they will come out with a win, or do you feel confident? How confident do you feel? How confident do you feel in our Eagles coming into this week?
so I want to say I'm mostly confident because, and I'm thinking about this carefully. I like this team, but as much as I like this team, I just worry about the Niners because you never know with them.
Mm-hmm.
One year they're good, the next year nobody's healthy, the next year they're probably gonna have like an up and down season.
Mm-hmm.
And if guys like Wilson can cover up Kittle, I mean, you're not gonna stop him, but you can limit him. If you
Yep.
can limit Kittle and you can limit that offense, that's the Eagles' ticket to a win.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how you feel about tomorrow's nights both games? Who needs to win more? Who needs to win desperately? The Giants or the football team? Which team needs to come out of that with a must win? Which team needs to come out of that with a must win? If you had to pick.
If I had to pick, I'd say Washington because the Giants, if they lose that, yes, they go into a panic state in a way, but they're already depressed. Let them be depressed.
Yeah.
And Washington, they've already hit the panic button because Fitz is out for a few weeks at least with hip injury, and then now they've got Heineke. So
Mhm.
this is Heineke's game to prove that he's someone to remember,
Mhm.
and I think a win in that game is going to prove that he at least is worth something, and they're going to need to win that if they want to be seen legitimately at least a little bit on offense.
Okay, okay, I definitely agree with you. I believe this game. I believe this game. I believe Washington does need this game more than the New York Giants because you're at home. You can't lose two in a row at home. I mean, granted, the Chargers is a good team. They're a good football team. They're a respectable football team. But you're at home. The Giants don't have a great offensive line. Their defense got exposed again with Teddy Bridgewater. Uh, Slayton drops too many passes. Kenny Galladay was okay, but he wasn't the Kenny Galladay we all expect. The Washington football team, this is a must win for them. Heineke, you seen signs of what he can do against the Buccaneers. That's why they not trying to go out and get a quarterback. I guess they have faith in him. So for what they saw in the Buccaneers, so this is and then this defensive line. This is a must win for the Washington football team. You can't lose two in a row at home, especially after a tough loss against the Chargers, and then you come back home again and play not a really a good football team in the New York Giants.
Yeah, and I mean everybody already knows Daniel Jones isn't a great quarterback.
Yeah.
It's the offense around him that's going to get him places. And Kenny
Mhm.
Galladay's not the Kenny Galladay from the Lions because let's face
Yep.
it, they had nobody. There's a reason he was so good.
Mhm.
And Evan Ingram has stone bricks for hands. Kyle Rudolph, I haven't seen too much of, as far as I know. I didn't hear anything on his name, good or bad, so it's not necessarily a good thing.
Yep.
And then the rest of their receivers were just meh. So at the end of the day, it's they don't have anything to come out and prove. Washington
Yep.
does.
Yep. I mean, do you it's a thing that I saw about I think it was about Sam Darnold and who's under the most pressure out of these two quarterbacks? Daniel Jones or Sam Darnold? Which guy's up under the most pressure to perform this season?
I'd argue, and this is very close. I'd argue Jones
Okay.
because there's already a lot of Giants fans that have said if he fails this year, we call for his head. And NFC East teams have a reputation for running quarterbacks out of their city. It's happened
Mm-hmm.
so many times before, no matter what team. And at this point, you know what you're getting from Daniel Jones. Sam Darnold, he's got somewhat of an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't been able to stay in a steady environment for a couple of years. So there's that going for him and a couple other factors. Daniel Jones has run out of excuses. So
Yeah.
at this point, it's do or die for him. Because if he fails, he's immediately leaving, I think.
Yeah.
So I think the most pressure is on Daniel Jones.
I would agree. I agree with that statement. But I'm looking at Sam Donald's situation. I understand he was with a bad organization, and he deserves a pass on that being with a terrible organization. And like I said, I definitely did agree with Daniel Jones' situation. If he doesn't perform, they're gonna get a quarterback next year in the draft. They're gonna get a quarterback next year in the draft, and he will be over with the New York Giants. But that Sam Donald situation pretty interesting. Granted, you didn't have a great head coach. You had to work one of the worst head coaches that you can ever had. You didn't have a great organization. They gave up on you. They trade you to Panthers. Now you got Robbie Anderson. You're back with Robbie Anderson. You got DJ Moore. You got one of the best running backs in football. You got a team that's going to come out there and play hard. Now, if you don't have a great season or if you have an average season, people are going to look at Sam Darnold as well, why this thing hasn't worked out as well. They're not just going to look at Adam Gates because Adam Gates is definitely the one to blame here, but they're going to look at Sam Darnold and saying people are going to question he's really not that guy, is he's really not good. So it could be him as well.
Yeah, and both quarterbacks are in situations that you don't see a lot because
Yeah.
both are at a point where they at least have to step up a little bit. And at the end of the day, it's possible that both of them get dumped from their teams and they become
Mm-hmm.
backups like Josh Rosen.
Yep. And Josh Rosen never had an opportunity. I'm to put it out. He never really had a fair opportunity to show what he could be. He had limited opportunities. Uh, is it fair to Josh Rosen to say he had his chances, or do you base on him not getting a chance?
He never got a chance,
Yeah.
and he was someone coming out of that draft that I was very high on. I said he's got potential.
Mm-hmm.
Then the first year went by. I said, "Well, this is worrying. You shouldn't get dumped from your team like this."
Yep.
Then it's progressed to now, and I'm like, "Really? This is what happened. This is the course of action you take." Like, I get it. It's a "What have you done for me lately" league, but you can't. It can't be a "What have you done for me lately" league if you don't get a chance to do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely agree with you on that. I mean, again, how do you feel about the place that they put Boston in? Do you think that's right? You think they should be over people, over a certain team? How do you feel about the place that they was put in a playoff
Who?
bracket?
Boston.
Yeah, the Celtics.
Oh, I didn't even see the bracket.
Not like the playoff picture. That I think they got them in seventh. They got them in seventh.
I think that's
Seventh.
fair.
You think it? Okay. Okay.
I think that's fair because yes, they have a couple of questionable spots that are going to be unpredictable, but at the end of the day, I do see them as fringe playoff just because this division's gotten better and better and better just over one off season. And I mean, I worry about some of these teams like the Knicks. I do trust in Jason Tatum, Jalen Brown, Marcus Smart, those guys.
Mm-hmm.
I even have a bit of trust in Al Horford. The problem is I don't trust Josh Richardson. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know what our backup small forward spot looks like, and as much as I like Schroeder, I'm hoping he can be the guy, and that's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely do. But again, we were talking about the John Wall situation earlier, and you was in there giving it some great thoughts too. And about the John Wall situation, if you had to guess, what team would he fit with, or what team would he fit with? If you had to guess a team, would you want to with that really actually kind of can use his services? What team would you actually pick? I know it's gonna be hard, but what team would you actually go with that you think that would need a point guard?
Yeah, that's tough because
Yeah.
nowadays in this league, it's a lot of teams already have their point guard,
Yep.
whether that
That's
be
what I'm
young or
saying.
old. But if I have to say, it's possibly lands in purgatory in Detroit, but I'm not going to be that mean today. I'm not, as much as I would love to be.
Yeah.
I'd say Milwaukee could be a good spot for him to land because they don't have somebody who's
Mhm.
necessarily jumping off your screen at you when you look at the roster.
Mhm.
Middleton's a shooting guard, so I like the chance of him landing there, or even maybe a Dallas Mavericks. I don't know how content they are with their guard situation.
Mhm.
I think that's something I'm gonna have to ask Lindy about as a Mavericks fan.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I say it. Coach Spotlight brought up an interesting choice because you don't know about Kyrie. You don't know if he wants to play basketball. And Brooklyn seemed like an interesting choice. It just depends on if Kyrie wants to play basketball. If his head is in the game, his head is not always there. That's the problem. That's the problem. And um, I mean, it's just so many teams. I don't believe OKC will be a destination because he wants to win. John Wall wants to win, and OKC is rebuilding just the same as the Rockets. He doesn't fit our timeline, and we're rebuilding. So we got our backcourt of the future, Jalen Green and KPJ. They've made it clear in the meeting. He doesn't want to take a bench role, and like I say again, we they both agreed he will be in training camp, but he would not be playing no basketball for the Rockets. He would not play in any games for the Houston Rockets or be in no type of uniform until they find a great deal for him. So I mean, I'm looking at that Brooklyn situation. Do you think he can work in Philadelphia? If you just look at, do you think he can work?
Yeah, and I think I'd really like the compensation that moves for him, but
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, I don't know what Philly's willing to give up because they're very stubborn, and Ben Simmons has no trade value.
Oh yeah, no,
He
hell no.
he's got none. So at the end of the day, you're at least dealing one young guy with him, whether that be Thibault, Maxi, whoever.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are split on their decision of who to send with him. But a lot of deals have been pulled off the table by now, so it's limited enough where I think it's
Mm-hmm.
possible, but it all depends on what's Philly willing to give up at this point.
Yep. So if you're a Sixer GM and Bradley Beal say I want out, and and if you have a chance to get him, if you throw, if you people don't want to give up Maxi, they don't want to give up Maxi. But if they ask for Maxi, Maxi will have to be in a deal with Ben Simmons, and a couple first round picks and Shake Milton. Would you pull the trigger if Bradley Beal wants out and in Philadelphia offer the if you are and the Philadelphia 76ers offer you the deal if you was the Washington GM? Would you pull the trigger? Would you pull the trigger? If you're the 76ers, would you make that deal? If you're a 76ers GM, would you pull it?
If I'm the Sixers, I'm pulling that trigger because you get rid of Simmons' contract. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, you lose Shake and Maxi and a couple picks, but you can just rebuild over the next year or two. You've got a lot of cap opening up. You can probably dump Tobias for not a lot of
Mm-hmm.
compensation back, maybe a first or a second or something like that.
Yeah.
But you can still do a little bit of moves, open up your cap, take a year
Mm-hmm.
off, and then go into free agency going, we got all this money. Who wants to come in and be the co-star to Joel Embiid?
Yep. Yep, you ain't lying. I'll pull the trigger right then and there because, like I say again, you probably don't want to give up Tyrese Maxey or nothing like that. But if you got a great player like Damian Lillard, Bradley Beal out there, you got to do whatever it takes if you want to win a championship. You got to make that sacrifice. You just have to. You just have to pull the trigger on that. I know because that's what most people asking for is Tyrese Maxey, and Daryl Morey just doesn't want to buy in, doesn't want to give them up. The best chance they had, the trade that they had, they still didn't want it with Malcolm Brogdon. They still didn't want the trade. He's just treating this guy like he's some type of superstar in the league. And if he was a superstar, he would have been gone. If he was a superstar, he would have been got that trade. He would have been gone. He would have been up out of there if Ben Simmons asked out. But right now, he just doesn't have that value that everybody's looking for. They're not going to give up those. They're not going to give up those picks. They're not going to give up those players for Ben Simmons. So it's going to be long for Ben Simmons, man. It's going to be a long time. I don't. Do you think he would be out of there by the time the season starts? Do you think? Do you think he would be gone?
No, not if the Sixers keep asking for what they've been asking for, because at one point they had a deal for Heald on the table, just straight player for player, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw that, I was like, dude, if you're Maury, you pull that trigger because
Mm-hmm.
that is the best offer they got. They were not dishing out offers that were better than that were going to get accepted. And since they didn't take it, I don't see Ben leaving before the season. At this point, I think they're just gearing up and going, well, Ben, you're gonna play no matter if we want you going or not, or if you want to leave or not. So either you suit up or you sit out. We don't care at this point.
Oh yeah, I'll be like that too. So yeah, the Deshaun Watson. Would you keep that trade value on the table? Do you think a team will take that value that the Texans offer, asking for? Do you think a team will take a gamble once they figure out this situation? Do you think a team will take the Texans value to get Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, because there's quarterback needy teams around the league all the time. I mean, right now, Washington's going to need a long term future if Heineke doesn't work out or they don't like what they see from him this year. Their New York Giants may need one within the next year. I'm hoping that they need a new quarterback within the next year. Please. Um, there's multiple teams that may need one. The Raiders could need one in the next couple of years, depending on how Derek Carr looks.
Yep.
there's some
Yep.
teams that have stuff on the table that they could just say, you know what, screw it, we'll take a chance.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely, man. All right, man. I was just coming up here to chop it up with you, man. I'm about to get ready, get out and go watch the game, man. I was just coming in and chopping it up with you for a little bit, man.
Hey man, thanks for coming in. And before you go out, do you want to tell everyone where to find you?
Yeah, man. Y'all can follow me at Coach Dante 31 on Twitter, Coach Dante 31 on Instagram, and Coach Dante on YouTube.
All right, man. Have fun with
Yes,
watching the game.
yes, sir.
All right. So Slay said he's coming on. So yeah, man, come on in. I need. I just want. I don't know. It's been a wacky night, but then again, half my streams I just like to come on and BS. So it's all good. Got a lot of good talk out of the way, but while we're waiting for Slay to potentially come in here. Oh, there he is. Speak of the devil. What up, big play Slay? How you doing?
Good, Jordy. How you doing, bro?
Not bad for how the last 2 days have been.
Yeah, man. Same, bro.
So, how do you feel about Philly after week 1?
Impressed by the defense and the offense, but more so the defense, because they held Calvin Ridley to 3 catches. And I know that's gonna get Eagles champ all happy, but 3 catches is not that many catches for one of the best receivers in the NFL. You would expect like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 catches from him. And he was held to 3 catches. And Matt Ryan normally has really good games throwing the ball on us. So him not having like a really game throwing it at us, I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah, and I was very worried about Matt Ryan as a veteran because he's at this point in his career, he can pick apart defenses like no tomorrow if he really wants to.
Yeah.
And coming out of it, they were really impressive.
Yeah. 100%. You want to go through the week 1 picks? I mean, week 1 games?
Sure.
All right.
Do you have it up or do you want me to pull it up?
I don't have it up, actually.
All right, I'll pull it up right now. So, I was going to say, this is going to take a second because my phone's starting to lag.
Yeah.
But anyways, what did you think about the Dallas game since?
That was the first game, yeah.
Yeah, that was the first game.
I still think Dallas is winning the division. That even made me more confident, but it's still not a victory. I mean, if people are saying it's the biggest moral victory of the century, then fine. You be happy with the loss. I don't know who's happy with the loss, but I guess Dallas fans are the only team that is happy with losses. But I thought that was very surprising. Their defense did not play good. I don't care what anyone says. Their defense may have looked good from what people saw, but if like you really zoom into the game on statistically and just like zoom in a little more, you can clearly tell that the Bucks had a ton of mistakes, and if they, made those mistakes, if they did better with those mistakes, then they could have won.
Yeah, both defenses had a lot of problems in this game with holding their opponent, and there was so many opportunities for each team to win. Like for Dallas, Greg Zerloin missed 2 field goals that could have easily gotten them a win because it was a 2-point game. So there's that, and then there's Tom Brady was slinging the rock, but Ronald Jones wasn't there. There was not a running game. So that also hurt Tampa Bay.
Yeah. Hold on. The entire NFC North is moonwatching, by the way, as we speak.
But anyways, the next game is Seahawks Colts. It was the Seahawks winning 28-16. What are your thoughts on that game?
That was an interesting game. Because I had the Seahawks winning, but I didn't think it was going to be that bad. I thought the Colts would have made it a lot more competitive. But at the end of the day, Seattle won, and they won convincingly. I mean, I wouldn't say convincingly, but they got the job done. And they did it pretty good. Tyler Lockett had like 2 touchdowns. Russell Wilson, he always looks good. That's not surprising in terms of his football. And DK Metcalf, he was nowhere to be found because they were double covering him and leaving more space for Lockett. And that's why he had both of those touchdowns. And that's why he had so many yards in fantasy and stuff.
Yeah, and this game I expected to be a little bit closer. Wentz struggled in the second half with how the Seahawks defense adjusted.
Yeah.
And this wasn't no Legion of Boom defense, so he shouldn't have struggled as much as he did. But in the first half, he did really well. Everyone was like, oh, maybe this is the Carson Wentz of old. And then he struggled, and they were like, oh, nope. The Matrix is fixed. He's back to normal. But the Seahawks, I think, should have done a little bit more on offense, too. But overall, this was a good game from both teams. And we got to remember that T.Y. Hilton's still out. So their number one receiver is still out on the Colts.
Yeah. 100%. And honestly, man, I'm just not like high on the Colts in terms of like their first couple of games because it's very hard. But I still think they'll be a good team for the season, even though the competition there is very hard. So I'm gonna come back actually, Jordy. So.
All right. So I guess I will start off with the next game. It is Texans beat the Jaguars 37-21. And I think I talked a little bit about this with Coach Dante earlier, but this shouldn't have been as close as it was, or it shouldn't have, not as close, but it shouldn't have been like it was. The Texans had a showing, but the Jaguars just, I don't know, it doesn't feel right that they put up 21 points for better or for worse. And Trevor Lawrence ran for his life because he's got an O-line like Joe Burrow's where that's all he can do. He could turn into another Andrew Luck, at least for a season. And he's making himself mobile to the point where I'm worried about injury, and I'm not even a Jaguars fan. And I'm very worried that he could get hurt. But I also don't like their weapons, and I think that limits them a little bit. And then from the Texans' standpoint, they did good without Deshaun. I didn't expect them to come out firing on all cylinders. And when it came down to it, they showed up. They still got Brandon Cooks. That's Brandon Cooks and Duke Johnson. That's the only two I can name off the top of my head that I was like, oh, yeah, these guys probably are going to have a good game. The whole team had a good game. And that wasn't expected. But what are your thoughts on this game?
Dude, I had the Texans going 0-17, and boy, was I wrong. I was surprised. Eagles and Sensors been saying Lovie Smith's a good defensive coordinator. He will be a good defensive coordinator, but at the same time, they're playing the Jags. No O-line, good offensive playmakers here and there, but they're surprising with victory for the Texans. The game should not have been that bad. As you mentioned, Trevor Lawrence is in a situation where he is going to be pressured for his life. Like, this dude's gonna be pressured all day. At this rate, like, he has no type of offensive line protection. And he has to avoid getting hit a lot. And he's one of those quarterbacks that likes to stay out of the pocket. He likes to stay in the pocket, actually. And he can get out of the pocket if he wants, but he's more in the pocket. So a little surprising there with that victory for the Texans.
Yeah, so the next game is the Chargers beating Washington 20-16. What are your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I was a little surprised with Washington's performance. I thought they would have played a lot better than that. They played solid. McLaurin, I don't know how many catches he had, but I think he had a couple. But the Chargers offense is just too good, and that was the difference maker in this game. You saw elite clutch plays by Justin Herbert in the game at the end. So, yeah, that was a good win by the Chargers.
Yeah, I expected this game to be somewhat of a competition, but I didn't think it'd be this close because for what Washington is, they've got a good D line, but I didn't think they were going to do that well. And it surprised me. The Chargers are such a high-powered offense, and I was hoping Herbert would take a step forward, and he did, but it wasn't necessarily all in one game, which I'd hoped for. But hey, Keenan Allen had a good game, and that's what won me a fantasy game. So,
Keenan Allen did good for me in fantasy, just not as good as Amari Cooper. I wish he played like Amari Cooper because I benched Amari Cooper and started Allen. And I also started Julio Jones, who did horrible for me in fantasy. So, yeah.
yeah, Julio didn't do very much, and I did not nearly expect it from him. But the next game is Steelers beat the Bills 23-16. What are your thoughts?
The Bills should have won that game, honestly. First of all, Josh Allen had one throw that he clearly knew he made. He should have made, actually. He knew he should have made that pass, and if he made that pass and those block punts didn't happen, the Bills would have won this game, 1,000%. But the Steelers got their win. I still have them going 3-14, but they are definitely going to win more than 3 games. But I just feel like this was sort of not like a victory that I'd be impressed with for the Steelers, because the Bills beat them on both sides of the football, and the Bills weren't even trying. They lost, and they weren't even trying, and they still looked better than the Steelers. So I'll say it's a good win for the Steelers, but I wasn't too impressed. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, and I just expected this game to be a small West Coast offense for Pittsburgh. Just Ben Roethlisberger dumping off the ball because like I say all the time, he's got no elbow. But he actually did good. I saw a little bit. I saw Chase Claypool had one run for 25 yards. I knew an end around would kill somebody on that defense. And every time they get somebody with the end round, and I just laugh because you got to know it's coming some point in the game. But the Bills did not perform near where I was hoping they would. I'm still not high on their running back room, and this just solidifies it because they didn't show up. But I still do like their receiver room. It's very good. They did what they usually do with their 4 or 5 receiver sets with spreading the ball around. And the only reason they lost this game was because the non-existent running game.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
The next game is the 49ers beat the Lions 41-33.
I would say that was the most shocking, not most shocking, but like the most, how do I put this? The most weirdest win of the week, I'll say. Because they clearly should have dominated the Lions in that game. They had the chance to destroy them, but they didn't. And they definitely should have won by a lot more. and the game should not have been that close, but they made it close. Props up to the Lions. They played really close against a Niners team that was really good going into this game. So props to them, but this game should not have been that close.
Yeah, and the Lions, I always say they've got two weapons, and that's Hawkinson and Williams in their backfield. And they actually proved me wrong for a game, which I'm happy about because they came back in that late fourth quarter and they almost had a chance to seal the deal. And I'm glad me saying something bad about a team went well for me, but we'll see about next week because I mean, yes, they almost did this to the 49ers, but the 49ers are just coming off a season where they lost a lot of guys, so it really shouldn't surprise anybody that they at least struggled a little bit. The next game is the Vikings lose to the Bengals 24-27 in overtime. What are your thoughts?
That's a little surprising because the Bengals offense is explosive and it has the potential to be really good. Honestly, I could see it being top 10. Um, but at the same time, I'm a little worried with the Vikings. They nearly lost. I mean, well, they actually did lose. So I don't know why I said nearly, but they lost to the Bengals, and their secondary does not look good at all. And one thing I will say about that Vikings defense is the pressure. I mean, I think there was like 5, 6 sacks in that game, so they have pressure there. But then again, it was against the Bengals, and their offensive line isn't the greatest. But at the same time, I was surprised. I didn't think the Bengals would actually beat the Vikings. And a good friend of mine is a Bengals fan. He was saying it the entire offseason. The Bengals are beating the Vikings. And I disagreed, but he was right.
Yeah, and this game, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow clicked, and it was obvious as day. It was like they never left LSU. And that's a good thing. I'm glad they clicked because I mean, when you got no line, at least you got somebody to throw to. I mean, Matthew Stafford knew something about that when he had Calvin, but at least he's got somebody to throw to now, and it's not Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon did have a good game. I have a feeling he's starting to fall behind in terms of where he is among other running backs, but he's still a very good back. And they performed better than I thought they would. I am also a little bit worried about the Vikings, especially because they just gave Harrison Smith that big money, and now their secondary is struggling.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little bit worrying.
Yeah, 100%. I agree, man.
The next game, the Panthers beat the Jets 19-14, and Sam Darnold going up against his former team.
Uh, um, I honestly expected this. I kind of expected a close game. But I'm a little worried for Zach Wilson and the protection he has right now, especially losing what's it called? Meek
Mekhi Becton.
Mekhi Becton. I always forget his first name. Mekhi Becton, losing him, that's very, very, very bad for that O line. They have Vera Tucker, but he's a rookie. And they just lost the Panthers, but the Panthers look really good against I think one of the more underrated defenses in the NFL. The Panthers and Jets have underrated defenses that no one talks about. Um, the Jets should have gotten way more pressure to Sam Darnold. I don't know how many pressures they got to. I mean, I don't know how many sacks they had, but he should have been pressured more. They have Rankins. They have Shaq Lawson. They have Bryce Huff. They have a beefed up defensive line. Not the same for the O line, but very underrated defense. I'm surprised with how the Jets performed in the second half. more so Zach Wilson. He performed really good. He got into his groove, but the first half wasn't his quarter. But I like what I saw from the Panthers more so.
Yeah, not as much as I like to call the Jets the new purgatory of the NFL of what the Browns were a while ago. They still got a little bit of talent and bright
Yeah.
spots on their team. Same goes for the Panthers. I put them both in the basement, but they still got both of them have chances to pull we shouldn't win this game, but we definitely will. And one of those two is going to do that at some point this season.
Yeah.
So the next game is the Cardinals blowing out the Titans 38-13. What are your thoughts?
Very surprised, to say the least. What was it? 38 to 14?
38-13.
13. Two high scoring offenses, and the Cardinals scored 38 points against the Titans. And people saying the Titans defense is underrated. I didn't see that against the Cardinals. Like, granted, it is the Cardinals and their offense is very good, but the Cardinals offense and the Titans offense, people compare it. You would say the Titans because they have Julio, Derrick Henry, AJ Brown, and Ryan Tannehill. And Fisker, he's going to be solid this year too, but the Titans offense was nowhere to be found. And that's very terrifying for Titans fans, but it's the Titans. They always have those games. Like last year, they got destroyed by the Browns, and a lot of people had the Browns losing that game. So I think it's going to be just a humbling win. I mean, loss for the Titans. But Kyler Murray, man, he impressed. Future MVP, I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't think this is really a place to press the panic button for the Titans. I think it's more of just a spot for the Cardinals to be like, oh, we got a good defense. Okay.
Yeah.
Because Chandler Parsons 8. And he pulled in Chandler Jones, not Chandler Parsons. Jones pulled in 6 sacks by himself. That's very good. And when it comes down to it, I do think this Titans defense is sneakily good. But when it came down to it, this Arizona offense is loaded. And I think they just proved it this week, especially with Christian Kirk out of the slot. The dude blew up. So when it comes down to it, I think it was just a matter of you can't cover everybody at once, and that's what killed the Titans.
Yeah.
The next game is the Chiefs versus the Browns, 33-29. What are your thoughts?
Very interesting game. A lot of people, dubbed it the game of the week because it's maybe an AFC Championship preview, but I was a little bit surprised with how the Chiefs played in the first 3 quarters. They almost lost the game, but the Browns, that just shows you Baker Mayfield in the clutch isn't the best. I mean, he's a good game manager. He is a guy that can help your offense, and that's the exact reason of why the coach won't let him be dangerous, as he says it a lot. That's exactly why. So I'm not surprised that the Chiefs won, but I'm a little surprised with how they did it. But it's the Chiefs; they can come back easily.
Yeah, and this Browns defense is one I've preached about for weeks, if not months now. That they look good. They're very young, and I think they're underrated because they're young. I compare them a lot to what the Bills were maybe a couple of years ago, where, yes, they have some vets. There are a lot of young guys, and I think they just have to place trust in them, like a Newsome, like an Owusu-Koramoah, and those guys can have great games and go off because they're such talented players. But the Chiefs, the one thing about the Chiefs is you never count them out. They're turning into what Tom Brady is. you can never count them out. And this was just one of those games.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the next game is Dolphins 17, Patriots 16. What are your thoughts?
It wasn't surprising to me that the Dolphins got the win because that's who I picked. But Mac Jones, congratulations to him. He got his first touchdown. The Patriots defense looked a lot better than I expected. Like a lot better. Good win for them. I mean, good win for the Dolphins, I meant to say. Dolphins, I mean, I still don't know if Tua's a guy, but he kind of displays like a game manager type. Like he can stay in the pocket, deliver, give it to the receivers, and control the offense, basically. But good win for the Dolphins.
Yeah, and this was a tough game to call earlier in the week because it could have gone either way. The Patriots just loaded up on veteran talent, and we're going to walk into this game going, well, we got the vets who know what to do off the bat. And Miami was the opposite. They were walking in with a lot of young talent. So it was kind of like a battle of young versus veteran. And the team of young guys ended up winning, and it was very close. So all in all, I think this was, in either way, both teams kind of win because you kind of got to see where the young guys are, but you also get to see the veterans are shaking off the rust. So this is the only game I can give someone a moral victory, not the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
The next game is the Broncos beating the Giants 27-13. What are your thoughts?
Oh my God, man, that's tough from the Giants. I mean, Daniel Jones, he fumbled at the most crucial time in the game. I don't know why he did that, but a little surprised with how the Giants performed. I thought they would have performed a little better, but hey man, I mean the Broncos just played better on both cylinders. They played better on defense. They played better on offense. So they got the dub there, and ultimately, I just think they were the better team on Sunday. Shepard was a beast, but that's the only guy that was there to perform for them. And James Bradbury and Blake Martinez did not look good on the defense for the Giants. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think now a lot of Giants are hitting the panic button, whether that be about Daniel Jones or what. But I've heard a lot of them say this is their last year with him if he continues to struggle and just be garbage. From a lot of fans is a lot of what I'm hearing around the team. If that's true, this is not a good start. And nobody looked good on that offense. That defense struggled against Denver, of all teams, with Teddy Bridgewater, who's a journeyman. And Bridgewater, yes, he's good in a sense, but he doesn't worry me to the effect of a lot of other guys. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, the Giants should have won this game and they didn't. So I think this is the time to potentially hit a very early panic button for Giants fans. And as of right now, some of them are a little bit depressed. And as much as I hate to say it, I'm sorry, but please continue. But anyways, the next game is Packers losing to the Saints 38-3. What are your thoughts?
The most surprising loss of the week. Honestly, I wasn't even that surprised. The Packers weren't prepared and the Saints were, and that's the clear reason why the Packers won. I mean, why the Saints won the game. You don't just go to a football game and act like you don't want to play. You have to play good. I mean, you don't even have to play good. Just put effort in. And it didn't look like Aaron Rodgers tried at all. It looks like he was just playing around. Honestly, it looked like he was just doing it just for the franchise. I mean, he doesn't even want to play there. He wants to get out. So this may be a reason for why the Packers should trade A-Rod and get him out of there.
Yeah, that game, I think it was just a matter of nobody was motivated at all. The team didn't look like they were collectively on the same page, and it didn't look like they had the drive to win that game. And Jameis Winston just said, you know what? Your loss is my gain, and just demolish that defense, which shouldn't happen for a
Yeah.
guy who said he's going to be better because he got LASIK eye surgery when that wasn't his problem mostly. But it is what it is. The Saints win and they get to live to see another day of high hopes. And that's not the case for some Packers fans.
Yep.
The Sunday night game, Bears lose to the Rams 34-13. What are your thoughts?
I wasn't surprised. The Rams should have won this game. They did. Matthew Stafford looked good. The offense clicked, and the defense was good, other than the rush defense. But clicked on all cylinders. Surprised with how I wasn't even surprised with how the Bears played. I mean, they put Fields in here and there, but they still need to fix the receiver. I mean, they need a better two to Allen Robinson. Mooney's good, but I need to see more from him. And I feel like that team needs just like a better, like, I don't know, man. Like, I think they just need like a whole new a culture or something. I mean, they are a good team on defense, but they've lost a couple players on that 2018 defense that are gone now. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just don't know what's going on with the Bears, but David Montgomery is still doing good for them. He did really good in this game.
Yeah, and the Bears struggled outside of Robinson and Montgomery.
Yeah.
And now I almost posted on Twitter the joke of, hey, why don't we start Nick Foles and see what he can do? But then I was like, well, a lot of the thought of that just goes out the window because a lot of people are going to know that he's only good in Philly. So I was like, well, maybe I won't say that, but it was a good game from the Rams. Cooper Kupp had a day. He went off. Matthew Stafford came out and proved I don't suck. It was the Lions that were the problem. And
Yeah.
I think it was the best thing for him. And I think he's going to walk through this season with a motivation that you're not going to see from many other quarterbacks.
Yeah. I gotta go, Jordy. But I'll say that my thoughts on the Raiders Ravens game real quick.
All right, go ahead.
I thought it was a really good game. One of the best games to kick off the year. It was amazing. This game, but the Raiders ultimately just played better at the end, and crucial turnover mistakes by Lamar Jackson. He had one really good throw in the back of the end zone to one of his receivers. I want to see how he looks with Bateman personally, because I think Bateman's going to be a stud in this league. But yeah, man, I thought it was a good game for the Raiders. Still not high on them, but this kind of changed my mind a little on them. But yeah, good win for the Raiders. They always play good when they should it. Something you always do with the Raiders.
And before you go, let everyone know where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me at Big Place on YouTube. If you want to go subscribe, you can subscribe. And also subscribe to my man Shorty, man. He's 38 away from 100 subscribers. Go subscribe to him. Get him up to 100. Yeah, he's one of the most underrated Eagles content creators out there. Go subscribe to him.
Thanks, man. But
Yep,
have a good rest of your day.
Yep, you have a good one.
So, I guess I'm going to give my finishing thoughts on the Notre Dame Toledo game, and then we're going to call it a night. But at the end of the day, this Notre Dame Toledo game, at this point, I say screw the season. We can call it a retool. Throw in Buckner or Buchner, whatever. I always jump between pronunciations, and I knew the right one, but now I don't because the last couple days have screwed me up. So if I'm pronouncing it wrong one time or the other, my bad. But why not just throw him in? Because Cohen's struggling. He's not comfortable in the pocket. He's not mobile like this scheme would work better with someone that's mobile. So at the end of the day, you put in Buckner. What's the worst that can happen? He's a freshman. you're going to benefit from it at the end of the day if he continues to perform like he did against Toledo. I mean, how much worse can Jet Cohen play? Probably not very much worse, but there is still a little bit more he could do to be bad. And watch me saying that's going to jinx the game and we'll lose next week. Just watch. I'm calling it now because I'm going to jinx it. But I still don't like the moving Xavier Watts to linebacker and training him there. That's a bad idea. He's undersized. I'd rather put him at safety if you're going to move him anywhere, and we don't need a safety. So, why couldn't you just... I don't even know. But I don't like Kaiser cross-training at both the Will and the Rover. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't. I have a bad feeling about it. And I don't want to ruin a guy like Kaiser. Because I have a lot of faith in him. I have a lot of faith in Drew White, too. And Bo Bauer. I don't want to ruin this. The defense struggled when they shouldn't have. Although they did get the forced turnover late to win the game. It's still not an excuse. You've got to step it up, Freeman. You've got to step it up with what you're doing. You've got to fix things. And the defense has got to fix things. Execution's got to be fixed. Reese has to do some adjusting. Reese has to do some scheme changes if we're going to continue to roll with Cohen. If we saw Buckner, which I didn't expect to see him anyways, if we saw him just in that game, I think we got to see him more during the season. Kyron had a good game. I think Chris Tyree had a good game too, if I'm remembering off the top of my head. But, man, at the end of the day, it sucks, but just got to deal with it. And I'll end it there. You know who I am. It's been a long stream, kind of just BSing around some sports. Thank you to everyone who came in. Coach Dante and Big Play Slay for jumping on and talking some sports, and BLSG for being in the chat, along with those two also. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in, whether it be for a second, a minute, the whole thing. Thank you, and we'll be back over the weekend. Content should go back to normal because the last couple of days have been chaotic.